Welcome to the First Mentor podcast. Here, you will hear us talk about a variety of topics for the entire family that will hopefully spark a discussion, create a new curiosity, or simply teach you something new. The goal is to inspire you to learn life skills and soft skills not taught in school and prepare you to live an extraordinary life. Come on and spend some time with us on your commute to school or anytime you're free.
Hello everyone, how you doing today? Welcome to the First Mentor Podcast, Episode 7. This is your host, Vanessa Yang. And in another episode, we actually covered the topic of money and finance with my good friend Vicky Rangsuebsin. And that was part 1, and today you're going to hear a discussion, which is part 2. So just a really quick recap. In part 1, we discovered and talked about the different buckets of money, how you could view it. So earning money, keeping money, growing money, spending money, and donations. So there's 5 different buckets. And today we're going to cover long-term savings, specifically about college savings, how to prepare for it, what you could do, different ways to think about it. In addition, we will also cover other topics that are included within long-term savings, such as savings for down payment for your house, as well as retirement. And in between, we also discussed assets and liability, which would be probably very helpful as a foundation for you. And as usual, this is not supposed to be, this is my disclaimer right now, kind of your information and guidance, everything about money, but more something for you to think about. Really something, like we said, it's in our motto, is really just to spark your conversation to say, oh, I haven't heard about this before. Let me look into this a bit further and research, and always speak to your personal finance professional about this information. But for us, we really just wanted to spark your interest and guide you towards your additional journey. So without further ado, here's my continued conversation with Vicky Rangsuebsin. But let's jump into the topic that I really wanted to cover, because you're the expert when it comes to, and I think all parents have the same problem. College is so expensive, and it's early for kids and teens and young adults even to think about retirement or their first home. That seems like so far away. But maybe we can start with college and then cover maybe down payment of the home and talk about retirement a little bit.
Sure.
When you sit down with your clients about college savings, overall, share with us a little bit more about what the discussion is.
Number one, different parents have different philosophies. Some parents well, just let them take care of it. They can apply for loans and things like that. Some parents, they're like, I went to postgraduate school, I at least want to pay for my kids' education. So, first of all, the parents, will want to, fund their kids' education. And the second question is that, what kind of school that they want to send their kids to. There is junior college. Mm-hmm. That's like at the lowest spectrum in terms of the price range. And then there is, like in California here, Cal State, and then we can have, UCs, and then we can have, the private schools. Mm-hmm. So it can go all the way up to $65,000, $70,000 a year for 4 years.
Crazy, I know.
Yes, and we haven't even talked about postgraduate school, right? But most parents are concerned more like with kind of college to building up to that, kind of talking to parents about what kind of schools they're looking. It can be middle of the range, or if they really want to save for private school, then, then we run numbers for them. Mm-hmm. Number one is that, how old are your kids? If your kids are just born, you have 18 years to go, then mm-hmm. the price tag can be smaller. You can save, $500, for 18 years, you can get to your goal. But then if your child is older, so you have less time, to set the money aside, mm-hmm. It can be more expensive. Then the conversation starts with that, what is the school of choice? How much, is the price tag? How much time you have? And then accordingly, we run numbers and let them know that if you really want to reach your goals, then, this is the price tag. And then, we go from there. If it's too much money to save, then, we have to think of other ways. Then they might have to be okay with, borrowing student loans or plus mm-hmm. loans,
sure.
And things like that. And then I also have clients, when the kids are out of school and they're like, wow, there's almost 6 figures parents loan that I have to pay for. And then, I've heard parents say that if only I knew how expensive it is, I would have started way earlier to save for it. So it's either before or after, but it's kind of a fine balance because, most of our clients, saving for kids' education, they also saving for their own retirement. So if you have more money set aside for your child, then, there will be less for yourself. A lot of times, when people have multiple goals, we try to find instruments where you can use it for dual purpose. It reminds me of when our kids are little, we have to buy, I don't know, a jumper or whatever it is, or like a warmer for your bottle. You want to buy multi-purpose
Yes, I love it.
They can use it when they're babies. They can use it when they're 3 and 5, so multi-purpose. So it's kind of a little bit of that, but it's kind of good to know if, you have a goal for education, goal for retirement. So we kind of take a look at it and see your child might get, scholarships and, what you save up for them, you can probably redirect to your own retirement. It would be great if you put it in an instrument that can be multi-purpose, for one or the other. So there's quite a few things, involved in it. But, the conversation does start off with where to send them to, how old are your children, how much would it cost and can you fund all of it?
Yeah, that's very true, because you need to know the variables before you can start talking about what to do.
And unfortunately, it's very, those numbers are very scary. Scarily big. The good thing is that, you can always, you can borrow from it.
Yeah.
So,
and I already told my kids, I worked 3 part-time jobs when I was in college. So I expect you to work, maybe not 3, but at least 1. So, right? If you want to go grocery shopping or eat out at the restaurant at that point when you're in college, or you want to buy more brand name clothes versus just normal clothes at discount, that's going to be on you. So you need to earn your own money to determine what you're spending it on. So, and I think it really adds to character too, and time management and everything. So I want them to work part-time.
I think I agree, because I think, if it's just handed to them, they're not going to, they don't care. I mean, they don't have to work for it. It doesn't feel like they have to treasure any of that. And I totally agree that, I think they need to, my kids need to work. I will provide them the very basic, but as you said, they always want more, than the basic, right? Then it's on them. They need to make the money and just work hard for it. So
I agree with you with college savings. I remember when I was pregnant with my first one, we're like, oh, somebody told me to sooner the better. So start sooner. So I paid, set up less. But of course, procrastination happens to everybody. So I started a little bit in a 529 account, but didn't do enough, unfortunately. But it's okay. We'll try to support them to the extent that we can. But at the same time, as the kids grow up, I feel like there are alternatives, right? Because I have friends who just believe in private schools. Their kids go to private school and they pay an arm and a leg right away since kindergarten or preschool. And every parent is different, like you said. So their own values. But to me personally, I feel that kids don't really need to be in a brand name school in kindergarten, or not even in elementary school. So there's different things to look at. Where you want to spend your money on for their education, right?
Right. I mean, I know I have some other friends, they're like feeder school. You have to go to certain schools and to feed into the middle school, and then to feed into the high school, and then the high school feed into the college of the choice. One of the reasons, that kind of helps me in setting money aside early on for the educations, because I'm an advisor, right? So people are like, oh, what do you do?
Yes, exactly.
It's not like I can say, oh, well, I haven't, you should save for your kids, but I haven't started saving for mine. Because of that reason, I actually started, as soon as they're born, I started putting money away, just continue doing it. Even though, I know, when we bought houses, stuff like that, I would stop some of my savings, for my own retirement, but I dare not stop theirs.
Wow.
So, it's still, I have not touched. I mean, it's automatically going in, actually twice a month for each of my kids. So I dare not touch that. That's like stay there. So it still continue. But one of the things I do want to mention is that I also have the 529. The 529 is a tax code. It's basically anything saved inside a 529 plan, is tax deferred. And then when you take it out for the intended purpose, that is for education. It used to be just college education beyond, but now actually it's open up to K through 12 expenses as well. You can take it out. Yeah, but you probably wanted to sit in there, simmer a little bit and grow, because you take it out, you don't get to take advantage of the growth that can take out tax-free. 529 plan, you got to be careful, because if you save all of the money in there and it's enough for, let's say, private school education, which is $300,000-$400,000, it's quite a bit of money. And if your child decided goes to a less expensive school,
or not to college at all, because that happens nowadays too, I heard.
Yeah. So that money kind of like it's stuck in there in the 529 plan. So you can take it out, but you have to pay penalty to get it out. Kind of like a 401k. You can overfund it if you have a lot of siblings. Your child has a lot of siblings, because you can change the beneficiary to a younger sibling. But, that's one thing that, I would say you don't want to overfund it. So what happens is that for us, we help clients kind of do different layers in terms of education planning. So the first layer, which is like money going into equivalent of like a Cal State type college, then you can put it in the 529 plan. So, but then, for anything over and beyond, you might want to put it in a multi-purpose type account. So in case you don't need to use it, then you can use it for your own retirement. So there's just different planning techniques that we use. But while we're talking about the 529 plan, so I wanted to make sure to mention that, you don't want to overfund it.
No, that's a really good point, because what if your kid becomes an entrepreneur in high school, and there goes the dreams about what you planned for them to go to college, right?
I know, but I always joke with clients, well, if you save over and you have money in 529 plan, then, you can revert it back to yourself, and you go to culinary schools and you go to golf school and use up that money.
Or it could go to any schools too. It doesn't, education in general.
Well, you can't go to any school, but you need to look at your plan, the 529 plan. So there's certain accredited schools that you can go to, but there's certainly culinary school you can use. You can change it back to yourself, to use it yourself. There's different techniques, but that's one of them that, I would say layering your education funding, different instruments.
Yeah. I actually opened a 529 for myself too, because I was hoping to go get my master's degree at one point, but I don't know if it's going to happen. But then I knew in case I'm not going to do it, I could change it towards the kids. So that goes to theirs. But
wow. Interesting.
I don't think it's going to happen at this point. That was my goal 10, 15 years ago. Yeah, probably about 10 years ago.
Never too late, Vanessa.
Well, we'll see, right? We'll see. But definitely there's many different tools. Just research. I actually like what Vicky said about just saving for the mid-tier, like the Cal States, and then anything over, find an alternative, because you can always supplement. There's different strategies. The kid doesn't have to go to private school all 4 years right away. They could go to a community college first and then transfer. What I am thinking for my older daughter, who's going to start high school too soon, I'd rather have her not grow up so fast. But what we're looking into right now is, for our high school, they offer what they call an early college program. So if your grades are good enough, you could actually apply for it. And then while you're in high school for 4 years, you can earn 2 years worth of college credits.
Wow.
Free. So I've heard not just our school, but there's actually other schools that started to look into that. Like, I was surprised because one of my good friend's son is in the program right now. They told me about this. And so what I've learned is they just take extra college credits early in the morning. So the school day starts earlier, but it's being taught by college professors. And
wow.
So when they graduated high school, they basically have 2 years worth of college credits that could be transferred, in our case, to Cal States and UC systems.
Wow. Wait, is there a name to this program? Is there
It's called
name?
Early College.
Oh, I am definitely interested, because can you imagine how much money you save?
Yes. 2 years worth. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. That's interesting. So kids, starting life instead of 22, it's going to be starting at 20.
Exactly.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. Yeah, and then they can actually go to grad school early too.
Yes, exactly. So if they have the drive at that point and the money to support that, then they could go to grad school. Exactly.
Wow, this is awesome. Thank you. I learned this is way worth my time.
Good. So I'm sure there's other new things, right? Because as parents, my advice is always talk to other parents, those who love to plan, and especially those who might have kids that are a little bit older, because then they're ahead of you. And I have another good friend of mine who have two boys who are in high school right now, and she is Mrs. Research. Like, she researches and
Wow.
looks for value. So I love talking to her because I followed her footsteps in many areas, because she just found such good deals and great schools and great programs. I
Wow.
always love talking to her to learn.
Well, you need to put her on a podcast so that I can listen
You
to
know what?
it.
I should.
Interesting. Well, I just put up a seminar. It's a webinar from my practice, and then one of the attendee was an old friend, and then we just started chit-chatting, and then he had a son, and his son just started UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like a freshman. And then he was telling me, oh my God, his son is like a 4.35 GPA, graduate from, high school going into college. So I was just latching onto him and saying, tell me what you do. Do you do tutoring? Do you do sports? Do you do all these things? So he was telling me a little bit at the time, what his son has been doing, to get him to college. So, but I think, you should definitely do a podcast.
Trust me. College will be covered, college planning. Absolutely,
Yes.
because I want to learn as much as possible. And I'm more than happy to share.
Well, I know the financial aspect of it, but, actually practically how to get the kid in, it takes a lot of effort these day and age. So yes, please do one.
Yes. And then I wanted to touch upon savings for a home. The interesting things is, when I was a young adult in my 20s, I had nobody to talk to about savings for a home or buying one, because it sounded so scary to me. It was such a scary subject. But when you are dating, you're ready to get married, and all of a sudden it becomes a very popular topic, and it pushed to my forefront. Do you have any advice when you talk to your clients about that? Let's say they have, I don't know, children going towards that age, or your clients themselves.
Yeah, I think, for people in the 20s or people who start working, either they want to buy a house or they're really against buying a house.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so either they want to and they have that, goal in their mind, their eye on the ball, and they wanted to reach it. And I have a few clients with the kids, in the 20s, and some of them, they just have been consistently saving money, and so they can come up with a down payment $70,000, $80,000, by the time, they started working a year or two, on the job, and just save a lot of money. And during summer they do internship, they save money, stuff like that. There's a whole different group, of the young people that they don't want to own anything. They don't want to own cars. They don't want to own a house. Yeah, I think the millennials they're very, very different. It's more a share economy. They can Uber, they can Lyft. They don't want to own anything, and they don't want to have the responsibilities. And I think it also depends on the person. I also have known parents helping the child, buy into a condo, and then it's just too much responsibilities for them, between paying homeowner association dues to making sure they pay property taxes. So that can happen. But all in all, though, I'll tell you, as an advisor, I would highly recommend anybody who can afford to buy real estate or residence to buy one.
Okay.
Because when we do financial planning, those who own a home as opposed to who don't own a home, it's a big difference in terms of the net worth, and also having sufficient assets to retire. I have so many clients right now that they're looking at themselves and they're like, man, I've owned my home for like 30 years. If I have to buy my house right now at the current market value,
Yes.
I would not be able to afford it.
So true. We have that same conversation.
Yeah, we would not be able to afford it. I remember a very, very long time ago, it was probably like, 15 years ago, and I was still a very young advisor. And one of the secretaries, she was retiring, and she said, I'm going to retire. I'm going to sell my house in Sherman Oaks, and I'm going to move to the East Coast. And she said at the time, there were not a lot of refinancing. She paid her mortgage for 30 straight years. And she said, I'm making my last payment. So, and then, I can sell my house. And I was curious. And I said, hey, Carrie, you're making your last payment. How much is your payment on your mortgage? And I know she has a big house, in Sherman Oaks, really nice. And she said $600.
Oh my God. Really?
$600. And this is the funny thing. He said, oh my God, Vicky, when we bought this house, it was double my rent. It was double my rent when I bought it.
It was scary back then, huh?
It was back then 30 years ago. It was a lot of money. We were renting, but we have to pay double the rent in order to get into this house. But 30 years later, you fast forward, $600
Oh
$1,200.
my God.
It's like a car payment.
Yes, I was just going to say that. It's like a car payment.
Right. So when you look back, it's just like, okay, right, you buy into the house right now, but, once you own a house like 10, 15, years, and you can refinance, the interest rate goes down. The interest rate is super low right now. I don't know if you can refinance it downwards, but, I mean, after you live in there for a while, the rent keeps going up, but then, your house payment stays low. So
That's a very good point. And that actually exactly happened to us, because when we were getting married, looking for a home, we were looking for 2 years, and then we realized we can't afford it, so we stopped. We just ended up renting an apartment. And then guess what? The market didn't get any better; it just keeps going up. And we were like, oh no, we should have bought the cheaper condo. Luckily, the market turned a little bit, and I got promoted to a manager at Disney, so my income went up. And it was just really good timing. I mean, everything was just working, because we searched for 2 years. So I have an idea what area I wanted to be in. I have an idea. And now with higher income, luckily I was able to afford more. And I had the misperception I was not listening well enough. So for example, homeowners insurance, somebody told me it was $600. Now I thought it was $600 a month.
Oh.
While it was $600 a year. So I kept thinking, $600 a month, property tax and the mortgage, I cannot afford a house. I keep telling myself I cannot afford a house, until that was clarified. I was like, oh, okay, this is a lot less now, right? 600 versus 7,200 a year for the insurance. So then I'm glad, because back then, similar to your client, it was 10, 12 years ago, I thought it was way too much. We saved the 20% we needed to, because that comes down to a saver. You never know. You're going to spend your money one day. Something will come up. Yeah. So start saving for even no purpose. Just save the 20% Vicky recommended earlier, right? You'll need it one day. And that's what I did. First job, even while I was in college, I just put money aside right away. I didn't know what for, but I just put it aside. So that accumulated over the years. And I'm glad I had that for my down payment and was able to buy the house, even though it was very, very scary. I said, oh my God, what am I going into? What am I doing? But similar to your other client, it's like, if I had to buy this house now, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
And to your third point, luckily there's something like refinancing, which I didn't know existed back in the days either. So when we bought our house, our interest rate was a bit higher, and we refinanced to where we are at right now. And it really saved us more money. So the house became cheaper over time. And renting nowadays in LA is, I blew my mind when I'm on some of the parenting groups that I'm part of. And when people say, oh, I'm moving, and here's my 3-bedroom apartment for $4,000.
Oh.
I was like, what? Who rents for $4,000? Like, it just blows my mind.
I know. It is incredible. But, not to mention, if you own your own home, there's also a lot of tax advantages. The mortgage payment you pay, the interest portion is deductible. And then, the taxes that you pay, subject to $10,000 limit, it's deductible as well. So, and then, when you sell your primary residence, let's say you want to upgrade, from your 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, to 3-bedroom, 2-bath, then you sell it. If you sell it, if you lived there 2 out of the last 5 years, and then you sell it, you can get capital gains exclusion. I mean, because I'm a CPA, so it's all about all these tax benefits, in addition to it. And I mean, we live in Southern California. I mean, the market might, drop a little bit for a short period of time. I mean, I'm from Hong Kong. It's another place where, the real estate, keeps going up and up and up. So it's different if you live in other parts of our country, so, but here, I mean, if you have the time to wait it out and not trying to flip your property, like buy today and sell tomorrow,
Sure.
Generally, you keep it for a long time, for a while, it will appreciate in value. So I still think, purchasing a home, it's a great idea. And I do tell clients who have, excess income, and I say, if there's anything to help your children, I would say it will be great if you can consider helping them, with a down payment, help them buy the first home. That would be a really great gift for them if they appreciate that. So
I had a staff who used to work for me, and I believe his parents were doctors. So they were able to support him, just like you said. And I was talking to him. I thought that was such a smart idea. His parents helped him purchase a 4-bedroom house when he was single in his early 20s, like when he started work. And I was like, why do you need such a big house? Like, I didn't understand at that point. I was like, why do you're single? But it was so smart of what he did. He rented out the other 3 bedrooms.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
renting those 3 other bedrooms, number one, gave him more income to cover his mortgage. So he basically
Mm-hmm.
lived in there for free. And
Yeah.
he had some other people to keep him company. I mean, finding the right roommates is another story. I don't want to go into that. But
Yeah.
just from a pure financial perspective, I thought that was genius when he explained it to me.
Yeah, that is smart. Well, one of the things that I've done with clients is that we although it's kind of a moving target because let's say somebody wants to buy a $600,000 home,
Mm-hmm.
so we kind of back into the numbers so that we figure out, hey, your monthly payment, your insurance, and property taxes, homeowners association dues, all that add up together. Let's say is $2,500. So what we do is that we start carving out $2,500 as if they bought a house, and then just use that money to kind of save toward a down payment.
Mm.
So you have the $2,500, and hopefully they don't have to just save all of the money. Maybe they get some gift money, help them, whatever it is. But just kind of get them used to parting with that quote unquote house note.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, this money is set aside, already from, their paycheck, and then it goes to saving for down payment. And so by the time they have the down payment and buy the home, then they're already used to not having that $2,500 for house payment.
That's true. That's a
So
really good
that
point.
way, you can work up to $2,500, right?
Yeah.
So you can start with $1,000 set aside, and then as you get promotion, you get more paid, and you work up to the dollar amount 2,500. I'm saying it's a moving target because the $2,500 as time goes on, the houses cost more, then your payment can be higher.
Yeah.
But that is another strategy that people can use to get used to that cash flow when you own a home, and at the same time to save for a down payment.
Yeah. And also how you think about what to spend your money on, right? Normally people think about buying a house when they get married. So I actually had friends, we had a discussion one time. Do I want to spend my saved money on a big glamorous wedding, which lasts for one day only? Or do I just have something small, casual, and put all the money aside for my down payment?
Yeah.
That's a discussion you should have with your husband or your significant other, right?
It is true because, in a way, a wedding is for your parents and their friends. Your friends to party. You work quite hard.
Yes,
on the
that's actually
day.
true. That's actually happened to us
and the
too.
house is yours, right?
Oh, same here. It wasn't my. I always say, and I joke about this. My wedding wasn't mine. It was for my parents and his parents. And we just showed up as actors, and we happened to have to pay for it. We paid for it, and we just showed up.
It's a big party you throw for everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
And you work hard to make it look nice.
So true. But I agree with you. I think if you can, because a house is your asset and you should accumulate more assets in your life versus more liabilities, which are debts, right? In a sense.
I look at it as more in terms of asset, there's appreciating assets. And there's depreciating assets.
Like a car.
You can think of it that way. Yeah, like a car. The longer you own it, the worse shape it's going to be in. Eventually, you have to sell. You just have to get rid of it. Whereas a house is an appreciating asset. It still degrades. There's so much work going into a house all the time, but it appreciates. So, there's a depreciating or appreciating assets. So I personally, I'm very into appreciating assets. I still have the first home that I bought, as a rental. So
smart of you.
Well, thank you. I actually, I have to say, I have a lot of smart clients. I have clients who teach me things that I don't know about, like real estate. They tell me a lot of great stories about it, and I know I kind of get an idea. I'm an investment, but real estate certainly is a part of your net worth. So it's kind of diversifying. You have some liquid money, whereas real estate, you can't sell off $1,000 off a piece of real estate, but you can do that with a portfolio. So you kind of do have different things. So I certainly think that people should own real estate, especially a primary residence. I would advocate for anybody whose kids want to buy a house, I would say support them.
You just reminded me of something. So appreciating assets. So earlier I mentioned to you that I made my younger son read Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
read the book before, but it talks a lot about assets, liabilities, passive
Mm-hmm.
income, and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And when he read that, he kind of understood the concept. I was very surprised. But what I found out online is there's actually a game that accompanies the book. So there's a kids version and an adult or more general version. And the kids version of the board game is called Cash Flow for Kids. And the other version is called Cash Flow 101. So we played the board game a few times. And what the board game is teaching you is basically a concept of, okay, here's the concept. This is your assets, your liabilities. And then here's your income and your expenses. The goal of the game is for your passive income to exceed your expenses.
Mm.
Right? That's whoever achieves that goal first wins. And I thought that was really interesting because then we pull cards. It's a little bit like Monopoly, a little bit, not quite. But we pull cards and it says, oh, you just bought a new house, right? So, and then you're renting it out. And so you earn passive income. Or so and so just gifted your stocks and those are dividends giving stocks. So here's more
Oh, funny.
income. Or all of a sudden you decide to buy more, expensive clothes or whatever that might be. So expenses went up. So it was a very interesting concept that we played as a family a few times. It's just a board game and we love board games. When COVID is over, I would love to invite you over. We'll play it together. So
I would love that. That was
yeah.
just right up our alley.
Yeah.
Or
And
my alley anyway.
it's such a fun concept because both of my kids kind of understood the asset and the appreciating one and also the liabilities because some of the cards say, oh, now you have credit card debts.
Oh, that's
But the
funny.
concept, I really thought it was a bit more expensive of a board game. I think it was over $60 on Amazon.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah,
Okay,
but I thought
interesting.
it was worth the investment just for them to get the concept.
Yeah, it's funny because, we mentioned asset liabilities, which is net worth, and then, your cash flow, which is, cash in, cash out.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of what we start, for every single client, who comes through our door. That's where our starting point is for them. So it's good for the kids to know too.
Right?
Because at any one point, I mean, it's like a financial statement when you look at a company, it's
So
just,
true.
it's always net worth and cash flow, right? So, I mean, for personal finance, it's the same thing, each person, everybody, has asset liabilities. Some is positive, some is negative, especially when you're young, you don't have any asset, but you have a lot of student loans. So it's negative, which is not good. But the point of, and we do planning every year to take a look at your net worth. So the point is that it's okay, even if you're negative, but, as time goes on, it needs to improve. The negative needs to become positive.
Exactly.
And in order to do anything, you need to have a positive net worth, and the net worth has to go up, meaning that your asset needs to go up and your liability needs to go down. To increase your asset, you need to save money or let the money grow. And then, to reduce your liabilities, you just have to keep paying down your debt.
Yes.
So that's about it.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, in simple terms, that's a really good point. So I wanted to talk about our last point here. I know personal finance, we could talk forever, right? We determined that before. So I wanted to make sure that we hone in on the specific topics, which is retirements. Because obviously most people live longer nowadays, right? We used to say retire at age 65, but I've heard now some people retire at 67 or 68 and I've also heard of stories where people retire at 65 and go back to work at 68 because they run out of money after 2-3 years. And with all the medical bills and your health and so on and so forth, you don't want that to happen to you. But then at that point, it's too late. You can't earn anymore. So the sooner you think about retirement, the better. So I wanted to talk and hear from you what tips you have about retirement, how to think about it.
Well, thanks for asking. That's what I do every single day, with clients, and making sure that they don't run out of money and, they can live the lifestyle that they're used to. So I think, when it comes to retirement, it's critical actually, at what age to retire. There's a few things. Obviously, I have cases where I work on client situation, even if it's work extra 6 months or work extra year, can make a huge difference. Because, think about it. If you can work one extra year, then it's one extra year of saving and one less year of depleting your assets. And maybe working that one extra year, will tie you over to, say, Medicare age. Then Medicare is much less as opposed to if you retire before Medicare age, then you have to pay quite a bit out of pocket on medical expenses. And then there's just different things to know, like things like Social Security. Do you want to start taking it early, or do you want to take it late? And so there's advantages and disadvantages. And it also has to do a little bit with longevity. So there's a lot of things, to factor into it. But I would say, one of the biggest factors that I see can affect whether, people can have a successful retirement or not is the spending. A very critical thing is how much money you spend.
After retirement or before retirement?
After retirement.
After retirement, okay.
So, or going into retirement, how much money you spend. Because, think about it this way. If I tell you, oh, this person has $10 million, is it a lot of money? It's
Sounds
a
like
huge
it, right?
amount. It's a huge amount of money. Is this person rich? Yes, $10 million, this person is rich. But if I tell you this person who has $10 million spends $1 million a year.
Yeah, not going to last.
I mean,
long.
is this person, it's going to last you 10 years, and then, it's going to be done. It's a critical factor to know that, how much money you need to spend. I'm not saying that, like scrape soup pan, while you go into retirement, you don't spend it. So part of what we do is to, kind of get a good idea what your spending is. So that goes back to my story when I asked my clients, how come your clothing budget went threefold? And, they didn't tell me that this is actually how much they spend, but it's critical that we know, because that defines your lifestyle. If you say, okay, I need $6,000 a month to live off of, as opposed to $8,000 a month, that extra $2,000 a month can mean a world of difference in terms of retirement, because we have to factor in $2,000 a month, and that $2,000, projects with inflation, and you retire for 35 years. So that can be a huge amount of money that you would be depleting. So one of the things is that we really spend a lot of time making sure that we understand how much clients need to spend, and then we kind of like calculate backwards to know how much you need to save. And so we kind of like adjust a little bit about the age that you need to retire. Is it 55? I have clients retire as early as 47.
Oh, that would be my dream.
And and I have clients who can retire. They don't have to work, but they don't want to be obsolete, so they still continue working. Even though I just look at the finance portion of it, but there's a lot of psychology that goes into managing the finance as well. I would say understand what your lifestyle is. And you've heard a lot of people said, I'm just going to sell my house and I just moved out of state.
Yeah,
and
heard that.
Yeah, because I have a lot of people who I have clients who bought their honeymoon cottage, for like $20,000.
Oh my God.
Is like they still live in the same house, and now the house, it's like $1.2 million, and they wanted to sell it and then take some equity out to help with their retirement. But they have to move to another state, for like a lower cost of living and things like that. So people just have to be kind of realistic about, their living expenses.
Sure.
But living in Southern California is expensive. And I can tell you, very expensive. Our fridge just broke and it cost $400 to fix that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I was telling you that, it's so funny. Like my younger son asked me, Mommy, are we poor? Our refrigerator broke.
How cute. That's something he would ask. Yes.
Anyway, there's so much I can talk about in terms of retirement and planning for it. And I would say, don't go into it on your own. I would say it's such a huge decision. And I pride myself for not, clients just go into retirement once. They don't have to worry about going back to working. That's kind of my goal. There's just a lot to know about. But I think, if you know nothing, the first thing you do is just maximum fund your 401k. If there's no other planning that you do, just start saving away. But I think it's helpful though, just like what you said, with the other goals. Like your son, he knows he wants to buy an iPad. So, when you have the price, it's easier to save toward that. So, part of what we do is also kind of help our clients define the goal. We want to retire. Are we talking about 55, 60, 65? So, tell me, we can help you define a goal. And then, from there on, can kind of work toward it. Yeah, yes. Exactly.
And I know as I looked into it several years ago, they were saying on average, our lifespan is like mid 80s. But then people said, well, but start planning as if you're living to your 90s. Because my grandfather is 102 or 103 already.
Wow.
And I was like,
Wow.
okay, I must have good genes. So I might have to plan past 100. And if I retire at 65, that's 35 years of just spending and no income. So
Yes,
I
yes,
really have
yes,
to think
yes.
about retirement.
Yeah, one of the things is that this is kind of interesting that you bring it up because, when we plan for financial plan for clients, we actually plan all the way until age 100.
Oh, you do, huh?
So yeah, between 95 to 100, because life expectancy, you're correct. It's like, I think 82 and 84, depends on what male, female. The women live much longer than men. We kill them off. The husband would say, the wives kill us off first. But anyway.
We're stronger. That's how I see it.
I know. We have to carry kids, right?
Exactly.
Anyway, I'd say the fastest growing demographics are people in the 90s. People are definitely living longer. And, in that respect, when we do planning for clients, we definitely take longevity into consideration because you should have stream of income. There's stream of income that can run out because that's what people are so worried about, running out of money. But then there's also things that you can create in your retirement asset lineup that, it can last you for a lifetime.
Yes.
There's things like Social Security. I know a lot of people are concerned, especially in your 20s, you might not, there might be changes to Social Security, but, Social Security is one of those things that, it never runs out as long as you're alive. And then there's other instruments that, we can use in retirement planning that wouldn't run out. So that will kind of like address what we call longevity risk, because that's a real risk.
It is.
And then, there are other, assets. So, we take that into consideration as well. But, that's kind of part of retirement planning in terms of addressing some of these risks. And, and you're right, longevity risk is one of them.
Yes. And some of my friends, what they talked about, and I thought it was really smart, going back to real estate and purchasing homes, they, similar to you, buy their first one, buy the second one and keep their first one as rental. And then if they can afford it and if their career is going well, they purchase a few more and rent it out. And for them, they say it's going to help me fund my kids' college for a while because they're trying to do it early and pay it off. And then all the extra rent could help pay for their kids' college and then later for their retirement. And I thought that was a smart idea too. Not everybody can do it, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a landlord, I have two pieces of rental properties. I have the best tenants and the worst tenants. I have great tenants, but then, when it's bad, it's bad. I had to hire sheriff to lock out, tenant wouldn't pay. And then there were hoarders, I have to let them in based on California law for the next 10 days for them to take things out. And there's major damages. I mean, it's not for everybody.
True.
So, but I do think that, I kept all my properties. I didn't sell them because of my clients' experience, because I want one day to be able to tell people, oh, the equivalent of $600 is my payment.
Yes. No, it's true. But to your point, like think about different ways to create something that just keeps streaming in. Unfortunately, most companies and most jobs don't offer pensions anymore, right?
Right.
So that's very unfortunate. Like you said, Social Security, we can't really rely on. I'm trying to create and work on passive income because when the day comes, I can't work anymore. At least there's something coming.
Yeah. Well, obviously, with what we do for clients, you can save up a chunk of money. And then from there on, part of my job is to kind of turn on the spigot, how to turn on the spigot and use the money. Because, you have to save it. When you're saving money as opposed to spending money, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yes.
Because it has different things to happen. I mean, when you're saving money, the market goes up, goes down, you just keep saving. You want the market to go down when you're saving money because you can buy stocks on sale, right? But then, when you're taking money out, that's a whole new ball game because you don't want it to take money out, when the market is down because you're locking in losses.
Yes.
So it's just a whole different strategy. But, part of, what I do is that once you save up all these, how do you put the puzzle together so that, it can continue sending you income? So that's another part of your retirement planning. There's many, many different areas, to make it all work out.
Right. So the trick is really start thinking about it early and plan for it.
Yeah, exactly.
I really, really appreciate you sharing your experience and the advice. And the first step is really just being aware of what to think about. And look into and research a little bit more, talk to more people, and plan according to what makes sense to you. Because Vicky mentioned a few times, everybody is in a different situation and has different goals, and it's not a one size fit all. We really have to target towards what makes sense for us. And I wanted to ask you, if somebody wanted to learn a little bit more, is there a particular way for people to
contact me? Yes. I have to apologize because, my husband's last name is super long. And I would say, you can certainly search for it. It's my first name is Vicky, Vicky. And then you contact me through email, actually, .h. Like my middle name is Hung, which is my maiden name.
Yeah.
And then the last name is Rangsuebsin, is RANGSUEB, like the boy, and then S for Sam, I for ice cream, and N for Nancy. So you can search for me, on social media. I have a Facebook page. I have a LinkedIn page. Also have a website, and I with the Mayor Prize. So certainly you can contact me. But I always have to apologize for my last name.
Don't apologize.
It's like
it wasn't his fault either.
I know. I said I just picked the guy. I don't pick his last name. And my friends were mad at me because my main name is Hung. It was pretty easy, right? And then I changed to Rangsuebsin. So
no, it's funny with us Asians, except the Thai. We have pretty short last names. That's how I learned as a young person. When they have really, really long last names, they're Thai.
Yes.
But I have to say, your last name is one of the easier ones. I actually could spell it. The other Thai friends I had, I could not remember the longer part, or I only knew how to spell the first few letters and then I'm lost. So your last name I know how to spell. So it's one of the better ones.
Thank you. Say. Thanks, Vanessa.
Yeah. But I hope you had fun doing this too. I learned a lot from you.
Oh, I do. I learned a lot from you. I got to early college.
Okay,
somehow, when you spend the time, we go to workshop, webinars, seminars, if you set your expectation, I just want to learn one or two things. Just learn one or two.
You got something out of this.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much. And I'll talk to you soon, Vicky. Take care.
Sounds good. Okay, bye, Vanessa.
Hope you got as much information out of this discussion as I did. Like I said, I always enjoy speaking with my friends over the podcast and over topics that we normally don't discuss as friends. And money and finance has always been near and dear to my heart because I think it's really important to be educated about it as soon as possible and as soon as you can understand it. And you do enjoy our podcast, please make sure you refer us to our friends, share the information with them. And also don't forget to add us to your favorite list or subscribe. Hope to welcome you at our very next podcast and speak to you soon. Have an amazing day. Bye.